Hi everyone, it's Terry Hornsby from the House of Hornsby, wishing you all a very happy 2021. I don't know about you guys, but I'm happy to leave 2020 in the history books and left behind. Hopefully things are going to be a lot better this year. We're off to a slow start, but who knows, we can only keep everything crossed. I thought I'd give you an update as to what myself and Dean's been up to over this past year. Like all of you, we've had ups, we've had downs, and boy have some of those been major ups and downs. But right, where shall I take you back to? So you guys will have probably finished our Florida trip from last year, January 2020. We had a really lovely time. Not normally our time of year. We normally like going towards the end of the year, as you guys know. We like the Halloween season and the Christmas season. But friends of ours were meeting up out there and we decided we was going to join them. So that's what we did. We had a lovely time. Whilst I was away, I caught a little bit of a cold, which, as you guys know, is probably nothing unusual in that fact for me. I'm always getting colds. However, this time, we don't know why. Don't know if it's because I had a cold and it made me more susceptible to other things, but they believe that when I came back I contracted COVID. Now, there was no testing at that time, but I was ill for approximately two months. It was a long time, and how Dean never got it is just amazing. But basically all that time I was literally bedridden. I didn't see anyone, I didn't go out, and this was even before there was even talks of COVID or that we knew that COVID was around. I just knew that it wasn't a normal flu or cold. I'd never felt that way in my life before. When it got to the stage, at one stage I really did think that was going to be my lot. I was finding it hard to breathe. The pain was excruciating. The body pain was totally excruciating. I've never felt anything like it, and God willing, I never will again. I was very scared. Dean looked after me brilliantly. Basically, I had my own bedroom for that period of time. The only time I saw Dean was he would come up and give me food, drinks. Basically, he was brilliant. Waited on my hands and foot. Work were fabulous. Couldn't be more accommodating. And yeah, so when I felt well enough and could go out, started going out for little walks, etc., I'll be out of breath very quickly. Dean decided to take me to the cinema one evening, and I can't even remember what it was we went to see, if I'm honest, but whatever film it was to try and take my mind off of it and make me feel better, and it did to a certain extent. However, I couldn't breathe properly, and then I knew I was in trouble, and you know, we left after a little while because I was sitting there all uncomfortable. I felt like my lungs were collapsing. It was a terrible feeling. And we did go to hospital and they did do tests, and at the time they just said it's a really nasty flu virus that you've got, blah 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 blah. Sent me for x-rays, blood tests and everything, and then I got sent home. And up to this point I hadn't seen my parents for weeks. They're in their 80s. I was really worried about them, but more so at their age, if I get a cold or anything, I don't go and visit them. I don't want them to get it. It's going to be far much worse for them. So I stayed away. So I was feeling pretty sorry for myself, very lonely. You guys out there were brilliant. You were all like messaging me through Instagram, Twitter. You've been amazing. All our friends and family over in America, brilliant. You were the tonic I needed that got me through. I was lucky enough to be able to work from home. So when the lockdown sort of came into place, they said to us we could work from home, so that's what I did. So I haven't been back to work since I would say end of January last year. It was the last time I was physically in the office. Dean's lucky enough to do what he does. His job is out on the road, so he's not seeing many people, so he's been lucky enough to be able to continue his job. We are both so thankful that we have been able to do the work that we do, and we realise so many of you out there have been put in a position where you're not able to work, and I can imagine how much worry and stress, because you know we've got family members as well and friends that are unable to work at this time, that they can't work from home and they can't go out to work, so they're stuck, and you know the bills keep coming in as they do, and it's a worry for everyone. But we are so thankful that we have been able to continue working. Moving on to other items, when I'd started feeling a bit better, we was going out and about. We were allowed to go and visit my parents, but we weren't allowed to go inside, as all of you guys wouldn't have been allowed to go in and see your parents. But I was so excited to go and see them. We had to go through the garage, and they sat in the conservatory and we sat outside, and you will have seen pictures posted on social media showing us doing that. But it was so lovely to see them. I hadn't seen them for ages, and we was able to talk, and we took pictures, and we was able to share them with members of the family all over the UK that obviously, you know, we couldn't get to see, where we normally would pop over for birthdays and parties. It was just so wonderful to see them, and they were having a laugh and a joke. And I know my dad was feeling a bit trapped, a bit like kept in a cage. My dad was always one for going out and about on his scooter, coming with us to places. Every weekend we took him somewhere, and we'd have a laugh and a joke, and we'd like have a drink, and he missed that terribly, he really did. And not seeing me for that amount of time as well, they were worried. So seeing me back on the road to recovery, well, he was over the moon, they both were. And a couple of weeks after I'd seen them, my dad took a fall and hurt himself pretty badly. He wasn't that great on his legs anyway, and they took him into Basildon Hospital, and he was there just for observation really, just to make sure that, you know, it hurt himself, but there was nothing cracked or nothing broken as far as they could see. But they wanted to run tests on him, and they wanted to keep an eye on him for a few days. So in he went. He went in healthy, and unfortunately 2 weeks into him being there, he contracted COVID-19. So we'd gone back from a stage of not being able to see him at home to not being able to see him in hospital, which any of you that have been through it knows it's such a hard thing. You know, I'm a daddy's girl. I've got 2 sisters, and all of us are daddy's girls. And the thing is, we didn't know that he'd contracted COVID. None of us did. We only found this out after the event, much after the event. But all we knew was that he was in pain. We were speaking to him on the phone daily. He had his mobile phone in there, and me and Dean topped it up for him so he could talk to us no matter what. And it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible to have somebody around you knowing that you can go and visit them whenever you want, any minute of any day, knowing that you go out with them every weekend, you visit them every weekend and multiple times during the night, to then go to nothing. I can't even see him through a conservatory window now, and it was heartbreaking. I think he was in there for a total of 4 weeks. It got towards the end and he wouldn't talk to myself or my sisters, because it upset him too much because he wanted to see us, and obviously he couldn't. So then they turned around and said, yeah, he's doing really good, he's doing really good. This was like towards the end of the 3rd week he was in there, and they said they're so pleased with him. They said what we're going to do now is we're going to transfer him to a home, and we're going to put him in rehabilitation for approximately 3 weeks. 2 of those weeks he'll have to be in a private side ward, because COVID was now out and about, as everyone knew, and they were playing it safe and wanted to keep their residents safe, which is understandable. So they transferred him to a local home, and we took all his stuff up there, went up to the hospital. They were great, they gave us all his bits and pieces. Still hadn't seen him. We just had a phone call to say, yeah, he's settled, he's in the home, if you can bring his stuff down, that'd be lovely. So Dean, bless his heart, we got all the bits together and everything. We rushed down there, and masks on at the door, like they let us in, and went through all the paperwork and everything, and they said, oh, we haven't got any of his shaving stuff. So we said, oh no. Had to go back. They hadn't got it from the hospital, so we had to phone up the hospital to and fro. Anyway, long story short, get all of his stuff and we go back. And I said to Dean, oh, I'm not going to go in with you. Do you mind like taking the bits in, because every time I go in I just get a bit more upset. And he said, no, it's fine, it's fine. Anyway, he's gone for 15 minutes, and then Dean comes back to the car and he says, do you want to see your dad? And I was like, what? And they said, yeah, if you want to see your dad, you can see your dad. He's in a room, and he said there's a bit of a garden, and we can stand in the garden and they can open the doors. So I said, yeah, cool's like a shot. And so we went and we saw him, and it was so great to see him. Sorry. It was so great to see him. And although he looked ill and he didn't look very well at all, we were just having a laugh and a joke with him, and he was laughing, and the nurses were doing bits to him and everything. Whereas normally when my dad gets ill, if nurses or doctors are around him and he gets kerfuffled, and it's like he gets really snappy and, oh, leave me alone or come back, or, but he was fine, and he was laughing and joking with the nurses, and we were saying about what stuff we'd bought up for him, and he said, how's your mum? So we said, yeah, she's fine, she's great, sends a laugh, everybody sends their laugh. And then he literally went through every member of the family, and he said, oh, how's your sister, how's her husband, how's your other sister, how's the nephews, the nieces, named them all individually, and was saying, yes, they're fine, they're good, they're fine. And he said, can you get your mum some flowers for me and tell her I love her, and I'm sorry I can't be there at the moment. I love you all, and I hope to see you really soon. And that was it. And we said, we love you too, we'll see you tomorrow. And then we left, and I felt like I was on cloud 9. I know that I was so privileged to be able to have seen him, because not many people had that opportunity. And I felt so privileged to have been able to do that. Anyway, the next morning we get a phone call to say that his breathing had deteriorated in the night. So he hadn't even spent a night in the home, and he was rushed back to Basildon Hospital. So we were getting hourly updates on how he was doing, and unfortunately on the 30th of May he passed away. But I have to take solace in the fact that, unlike so many of you out there that have not been able to say goodbye to the ones that you love, me and Dean did. Although I did feel quite like a charlatan for quite a while, because when we came out we saw my mum and we said, oh, he looked amazing, he did so well, and he was laughing, he was joking, and then you get a phone call to say he's taken a turn for the worse, and that's it. And then the more me and Dean talked about it, the more I kind of realised that he knew that he was dying, and that's why he was asking individually how everybody was. Are they fine? Are they okay? Are you sure they're okay? Is mum okay? He didn't ask once, he asked loads of times, as if to say like, well, if you guys are really okay, I need to go. And as much as it tears my heart open, I know that he's not suffering anymore, and that's the biggest thing. You don't want anybody that you love to suffer, and he was in pain. He was in a lot of pain. You could see it in his face. And when me and Dean had to go up to the hospital to collect his things, we saw people being admitted with COVID-19, and it was so frightening. It was so frightening. When we got the death certificate, it said cause of death COVID-19, which was a right smack in the face, because we just wasn't expecting it. You know, he'd gone in there for a fall, and we thought maybe he'd died of complications from the fall, because they knew that he'd injured himself, but they just didn't know how. And yeah, and there it was, he was gone. I was in denial, I think, at first. It didn't really hit me. It seemed surreal. I think because we hadn't seen him for a few weeks, I just kept expecting him to walk through the door. I think anyone does that goes through this. They think that, nah, it's not real. They've made a mistake. He's going to walk through that door any minute, and he's going to say, come on, let's go down to the pub. But obviously that never happened. We had to have a funeral with, I think there was 8 of us allowed to go for the funeral. That was heartbreaking. It was filmed, not by us, but for people that couldn't get to the funeral, which was a godsend in some ways, because there were so many people that wanted to show their respects, but couldn't make it, obviously. So that was pretty good. And then a few weeks after the funeral, I got a call from the doctors to say that they needed to see me urgently. So I spoke to them, went up there, and they told me that they thought that I had suspected COVID-19 when I had been really poorly. And because of everything that had been happening with the hospitals at the moment, they didn't get a chance to, you know, catch up on everything. They're inundated, which I totally get. They said, but obviously there was no test available at that time, but they're going to check me out and see what's what, because apparently the last couple of x-rays that they took, they found shadows, and they just want to keep a check on them and make sure they're fine. Well, not fine, but I don't know. If I'm honest, I don't actually know, and they don't know either. They've told me they don't know what they're looking for. If it is something as a result of COVID, then it may heal itself, God willing. They just don't know. They don't know enough about it at the moment. So I've got to admit, it scared the life out of me so much that I have been on a health kick. Yeah. Me on a health kick. I've always wanted to. I've wanted to lose weight, and my heart's just not been in it, excuse the pun. But now I felt like it's a case of, you really need to do this, because if it was COVID that I had, I don't want that again. and I'm not sure I could go through that again. It was the most frightening, painful experience of my life, and I know as well that losing weight, if there is a problem with my heart, it's going to be a lot healthier for myself if I lose the weight. So I've lost just over half a stone at the moment, so I'm keeping to it. I'm doing all right, and you can follow me with my progress and see how I'm getting on. What else? I'm still working from home. Dean's still working out on the roads and everything, but we went through a bit of special, well, both of us really, because we used to take Dad out for the weekends, go to the pub, take him shopping, take him on days out. We had this void, this empty void, and well, we just didn't know what to do with ourselves, and I found myself sort of like spiraling into an abyss of major depression. Most of you guys know that I do suffer with anxiety and depression, and different forms. You know, some days are good, some days are bad. But yeah, it was getting pretty bad, and the realisation had hit that my dad was no longer going to be around, and what was we going to do? What was we going to do with our weekends? And we had a chat about it, and you guys know that I have wanted a dog for years. I've wanted a dog for ages, and it's not been the right time. You know, what with working and being away, and it wouldn't have been fair. But now was the ideal time. We looked high, we looked low. I went to rescue places, but they weren't, because of the COVID, they weren't letting anybody in, or they wasn't releasing any dogs, or I signed up for Dogs Trust. I can't even think of it. There was one that was like a programme on the telly. I applied to them, and they did get back to me, and they said, oh, you're on a list, but you're on a very long waiting list. And I was like, oh, okay. And then Dean said, you know what, he said, if you want a dog, you want to get the dog that you've always wanted. And I've always wanted a miniature sausage dog. But I said to him, at this stage, I don't care. I just need something to pour my love into, to care for, you know, for it to be there for us. And he said, no, he said, if you're going to get a dog, it needs to be the one that you want. So we waited, we looked, we asked people when they were walking their dogs, we shouted across, sort of like, oh, do you know a breeder? A couple of times we got numbers, spoke to those breeders, and they said, oh, we won't have anything until spring next year. I was like, oh, okay. And he said, look, don't get disheartened. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And if you get one, you'll get one. If not, you're meant to wait. And I thought, yeah, I know, but I just had this aching, and I wanted to heal it, and nothing can replace the loss of a loved one, don't get me wrong. You know, they say there's 5 steps to grieving, and I think I was in up to one of the third stages of grieving. But then out of the blue, I joined on this app, and it came up with a result saying that somebody locally had some puppies for sale, and it was a reputable breeder, kennel club, and you could go and view them and view them up. So I had a word with Dean, and he went, well, don't get your hopes up because you don't know. And he said, you know, it says kennel club, but it might not be kennel club and whatever. But anyway, we went to see them. OMG, they were adorable. I'll probably put some clips in at some stage or other so you can see sort of like when we first bought a home, we took her straight to my mum's. My mum loved her. Yes, so as you've gathered, we bought her home. Her name's Millie. We call her Millie Vanilli. Or Millie, stop being silly. She's a total nutcase, and we love her to bits. I must tell her I love her at least 40 times a day. So I'm working from home, it's brilliant. I'm with her all the time. She's teething at the moment. I've hardly got any clothes left because she's chewing all through our clothes. but I can't imagine life without her now. And we found out from the breeder, because, like, you know, as you know, we have to register them with vets for their inoculations and everything, which we did. And I said I was so excited to take her home. I didn't ask you when she was born. Didn't pick up the paperwork or anything at that time, so got it all back. Get this, guys. Millie was born on the 28th of September. That's my dad's birthday. It was like he was looking down and he was going, do you know what? You need a dog? You want a dog? I'm going to get you a dog. Yeah, on my dad's birthday. And the other strange thing is my dad had bypass surgery donkeys years ago. He's had a couple, to be fair. And Millie has got a white patch from there down her chest. It's exactly the place my dad's scar was from his heart operation, from his bypass. And it just, I don't know. I don't know if you guys believe in those sort of things or not, but I do. I think he was up there having a hand in making sure that we had this little thing. And she's been a joy, a total joy. I can't wait for all the family to eventually be able to meet her. She's not keen on walking at the moment. I don't know why. We do take her out. I think it might be a bit too cold. She sticks her claws in and she just won't move. You know, you're going, come on, come on. And she'll walk a little bit and then she'll go, no, do you know what? It's cold. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. But we've had some amazing fun with her. And when you're feeling crap, I just look at her and she just makes me laugh. And even if she does something wrong, I tell her off. And do you know what? I can't be annoyed with her. How can you be annoyed with that cute little touchy face? Yeah. We were due to go on holiday as well. Early December, we were due to go to Centre Parks. I probably mentioned that in one of the vlogs at some point or other. But we had to move that. We've moved that to this year. Fingers crossed, we have got a Centre Parks holiday booked for June. Hopefully that's not going to get cancelled, but if it is, not much we can do about it. The one we was supposed to have for December last year, we've moved to December this year. So hopefully, even if we don't get the one in June, we might be lucky enough to get the one in December, but who knows. Apart from that, I can't think of anything else. That was enough, wasn't it? Cool, you weren't expecting all that, was you? Anyway, both myself and Dean will be vlogging again. Not sure if it's going to be on a weekly basis, but that's why you need to make sure that you are A, subscribed, and B, you hit the bell. That way you'll be notified when one of our vlogs goes live. We're just going to be filming home stuff. Dean started decorating again. Oh, he finishes and then he finds something else to do. But basically you're just going to be, you know, when they go up, it's just going to be things we do. We don't want to put things up just for the sake of putting things up, because that would be boring. But, you know, if we do something, or we up to something, or we're making something. I have been doing a lot of craft projects at the moment. I have got a project coming up that I am thinking of doing and starting pretty soon, so I possibly may film that. Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be lots of videos of little Millie. She's a handful. Anyway, sorry that was a long one. Just wanted to let you know what we've been up to and what's been going on. I hope that we'll all be able to see each other soon. I really do. I hope that all the families will be able to get together again. I just want to finish off by saying thank you so much for your kindness. Thank you for all the messages on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the cards we've had. The support has been amazing from this community. We love you, we really do, and I know that other vloggers have been going through similar things to what myself and Dean have gone through. I know Delph Get Binky lost his mum as well, and our hearts go out to them, of course, as to everyone that's lost somebody, whether it's been through COVID or just through a cruel twist of fate and ill health. But we'll all get through this, we will. Anyway, we're going to love you and leave you, and catch up with you really soon. Take care for now. Remember, we're not done because we're still having fun. See you on the flip side, guys.